This is Citizen Weekend with Lilian Muli.
Good evening. Many thanks for joining us tonight. Let's take a look at what's making headlines on Citizen Weekend. Taxation overdrive, bread prices to go up, and an annual tax for vehicle owners imposed as Ruto administration unleashes new tax measures.
Wana uniform, wana hatuna kitu, tuliadhiriwa hata area yetu wengi wako hapa walifungiwa.
When the usual becomes difficult, floods victims express frustration ahead of Monday's reopening of schools.
Sisi tunakuanga mwezi wa 5 tunakula maharagwe. Sasa maharagwe tuweze kukula.
Mimea zetu zimeweza kubeba kwa mashamba.
Crop failure looms large. Farmers hit hard by recent floods posing a threat to food security for many families. What ails Nakuru? Why new land fishes attributed to recent heavy rains have Nakuru residents on edge? Good evening. Our sign language interpreter tonight is Njoki Shege. President William Ruto's administration aims to once again raid Kenyan taxpayers to fund its 2024 budget. The Finance Bill 2024 proposes sweeping changes that will, among other things, raise the cost of bread with the introduction of value-added tax on a staple that has been exempt. The planned raids also targets car owners who will be subjected to a motor vehicle tax. Stephen Leto breaks down the Financial Bill 2024, which yet again promises more pain for Kenyans.
Kenyans must brace themselves for an even tougher year ahead as the Kenya Kwanza administration plots more raids on their pockets in the form of additional taxes for a second year. President William Ruto's administration plans to raid already strained Kenyan households to fund the government's 2024-2025 budget. Treasury is proposing 16% value-added tax on bread after removing a common breakfast favorite from the exempt category. The move will drive up the cost of bread for consumers. Under the proposed changes to the VAT, a 400-gram loaf of bread could see a price hike of at least 10 shillings. If the 2024 tax plan goes according to Kenya Kwanza's plan, vehicles owners will pay a tax known as motor vehicle tax. It shall be payable to the commissioner on each motor vehicle at the time of the issuance of an insurer cover. The motor vehicle tax has been pegged at 2.5% of the value of the vehicle and shall not be less than 5,000 shillings and not more than 100,000 shillings. An insurer of a motor vehicle shall collect and remit motor vehicle tax within 5 working days after issuing a motor vehicle insurance cover. Motorcycles will also be subjected to excise duty of 10%. Revelers have not been spared either. Lovers of wine will pay more within a proposal to charge 243.43 shillings per litre. Lovers of beer will however pay less with a new bill proposing 142.44 shillings per litre, down from the current 253 shillings. Those who partake spirits and whiskies will pay more, with the current plan increasing its tax to 356.42 shillings per litre. Finance Bill 2024 suggests eliminating VAT exemptions for several financial services, including issuing credit and debit cards, telegraphic money transfer services, and check handling, processing, clearing, and settlement, including special clearance or cancellation of checks. Excise duty, telephone, and internet data services has gone up from 15% to 20%. Excise duty on money transfer services has also seen a sharp increase, with the bill proposing a rise from 15 to 20%. Excise duty on betting, gaming and lotteries has also seen a proposed increase of up to 20% from 12.5%. Other changes include VAT on mosquito repellents, tea packaging material, foliar feeds and biostimulants, as well as agricultural pest control products. As Kenya Kwanza works on high taxes for Kenyans, it is yet to implement fully deduction proposed in in last year's budget, such as the Social Health Insurance Fund, which is set to come into effect mid-2024. Last year, the Kenya Kwanza administration raised income taxes for those earning more than 500,000 shillings by 2.5% and those earning more than 800,000 shillings by 5%. It also introduced a 1.5% housing tax that was later declared unconstitutional and once again reintroduced at the Affordable Housing Act 2024. Stephen Leto, Citizen TV.
President William Ruto says the government will engage stakeholders in the health sector, including health workers' unions, to promote industrial harmony and long-lasting solutions to the challenges. The president this morning met the leadership of the Kenya Medical Practitioners, Pharmacists and Dentists Union, led by Secretary General Davji Atela at State House, Nairobi, where he pledged to consistently address the persistent human resource challenges that slow down realization of universal health coverage. The union committed to champion and support universal health care and the rolling out of social health insurance to all Kenyans. Head of Public Service Felix Koskei, Health Cabinet Secretary Susan Nakumicha, and Principal Secretary in the State Department of Public Health and Professional Standards, Mary Muthoni, were present during the meeting, which happened 3 days after doctors ended their 56-day strike. And parents of school-going children in flood-hit areas have expressed concern for the safety of their children ahead of the schools opening on Monday. Some parents in Busia and Narok counties say they may not release their children to schools as the parts of the counties remain flooded weeks after the rains started. Others are still unsure of where the children will learn as some schools remain occupied by flood IDPs. Brenda Wanga reports on the countdown to the schools reopening as some flood victims ask for assistance to get their children ready for Monday.
The Huruma Sports Complex in Nairobi hosts hundreds of people displaced from their homes by the floods in Mathare. Conditions here are tough and they're set to get dire for families with children in both primary and secondary schools. Salome Njoki, a grandmother of several, is at her wits' end. In just under 2 days, schools will be reopening, but she doesn't have hopes that her grandkids will be joining the rest in class.
Na mimi ni mmoja wa adhiriwa. Na mimi ni soso wa miaka 72 na niko na wajukuu hawana uniform, hatuna kitu, tuliadhiriwa hata area yetu wengi wako hapa walifungiwa.
Other parents in the camp facing a similar predicament. They say the floods didn't give them a chance to save anything other than their lives.
Ilituvamia tu mara moja. Sasa vile ilituvamia, hata hakuna vile ungefikiria, hata nguo, hata chochote. Tulikumbukanga kama tushaenda. Tukaona tuenda tujiokoe kwa jirani. Kwenda kujiokoa kwa jirani, tena maji katupata huko. Tena kwa jirani, tena ikabidi tutoroke huko. Tukatorokea sasa kwa shule nyingine iko huko ya Little Bits. Ndio wakaenda wakatufungulia tukakaa huko.
Tukatoka nje, kutoka nje maji ikaendelea kujaa, na jaribu niingie ndani niende niokoe hata vitabu za watoto ikiwezekana. Vitu zote zikaanza kuzama maji. Maji ikajaa, geti ikajifunga.
The Kenya Red Cross managing this camp contends that the back-to-school concerns raised by the parents are genuine and need urgent attention.
Majority are willing to go back to school on Monday, but they don't have the uniform. And of course, they are coming from different primary school. So that is the main need, and also stationaries, the books and the pencils and the rest. So those are two critical needs that they are worried.
Concerns about the return to school go beyond the provision of uniforms and stationery. In Busia, the very challenge of accessing the schools and the state of the schools themselves is evident. A number of schools remain uninhabitable from the remnants of the floods that have damaged infrastructure in the learning institutions. And this, parents say, is not conducive for school on Monday.
Hali ilivyo, tunaona ni kama tunahatarisha maisha ya watoto, kwa sababu wanahitaji maboti ziwe ambazo zitawavusha, na bila watoto kupita kwa hii maji itakuwa ni hatari kwao.
Siko tayari kwa sababu usalama wa watoto. Kuna wale watoto wa chekechea, kuna wale watoto wa grade 1 na kuendelea hawana usalama ule wa kuenda, kwa sababu unaweza ambiwa mtoto ameanguka kwa maji na amefanya nini? Amekufa.
IDPs currently residing at the St. Peter's School in Narok Town also face uncertainty over where they will be hosted once schools reopen. The IDPs have been occupying the classrooms, making the best of an otherwise dire situation since they were flooded out of their homes. Some of them even have pupils at this school. They simply don't know what Monday holds. The IDPs camping here have been asked to vacate ahead of the school opening on Monday.
Tutaenda wapi? Tuko na watoto shule. Tunaambiwa leo ndio mwisho na Jumatatu ndio hiyo imefika, na tuko mpaka na watoto wa secondary, tuko na watoto wa class 8.
Watoto wanashikwa na homa haishi, pesa ya kwenda hospitali hakuna, pesa yenye tulikuwa nayo ilienda na maji.
Those affected in the different counties are hopeful that the help they need will come in the next 24 hours before schools reopen. They want to be resettled and their children facilitated to join their peers in class. Brenda Wanga, Citizen TV.
The heavy rainfall in parts of the Rift Valley has created concern among locals due to widening and deepening land fissures in Kaptembo and Nakuru West. Geologists attribute the occurrences to the heavy rains that have left a trail of destruction, including damaged infrastructure and farmlands, and have led to internal displacement of persons. Ayub Abdikadir reports on the fissures and the danger they pose to both humans and infrastructure.
These land fissures indicate danger and have forced locals in Kaptembo to flee following the heavy rains that exacerbated the situation, and heavy flooding leading to more cracks and formation processes that still keeps them away from their homes.
Siku ya jana tulikuwa kazini na tukapata nyumba zimesinka, swa kama yangu pale ya mwisho ili sink kabisa ikaingia, hatujaweza kuomboa chochote. Kwa sasa hatuna mahali pa kuenda, tumekesha tu, hata tumekuwa kanisani.
It's a sentiment shared by locals here in Kaptembo, whose worries keep growing over uncertainty on when to return to their lands that have been defaced due to the geological processes. In November 2020, parts of Nakuru and Naivasha areas experienced similar formations, leading to the displacement of people and the destruction of property.
Mimi mwenyewe niko na watoto 4, sina vile naweza kujisaidia nao kwa wakati huu. Vile mnatuona tukiwa hapa hivi, tumeshindwa vile tunaweza kujisaidia, ndipo tuweze kuondoka mahali hapa. Kwa hivyo tunaomba tu serikali iweze kutupa usaidizi ili tuweze kujihukumu kimaisha yetu.
It has been the same in Kamungei and Kabasis villages in Ngata, the county of Nakuru. The sinking of portions of land here, flash floods seen through underground fissures, causing the land to shift, and subsequent development of more fissures.
Unajua si wenyewe kenye tunahofia ni uende, unajua sasa hii barabara inaelekea Masinjeri hivi. Huwezi jua kama unaweza lala asubuhi upate Nakuru ilizama. Jua hata inastahili serikali wakuje wapime waangalie shida iko wapi.
Security agencies and the local leadership have appealed to locals to heed advisories from agencies undertaking rescue measures to prevent further human casualties as a result. The leadership also delivered aid for the affected persons who are displaced from their homes and who are without food, water and medical supplies.
Iko fault line hapa. Ukienda kwa hiyo shimo ya maji almost some meters iko mashimo kubwa sana zimechimbika hapo kama 2 ama 3. Sasa hizo ndio zimeleta shida kutoka hapo kwenda hivi mpaka huku chini anaonekana iko fault line. Hizi manyumba zimejengwa juu ya hiyo fault line, unaona zinaendelea kusinki.
My appeal is kwa wananchi. Kuna wananchi wengi hapa wameathirika na hiyo fault line bado inasonga. So tunawaomba, tunawasihi tukiamua muondoke because the area is unsafe. Tafadhali tushirikiane so that we can save lives.
The heavy rains which have led to the creation of fissures similarly led to issuance of advisories by both state and non-state actors to locals in the affected areas to be wary of the possible dangers that buildings and other infrastructure face. Ayub Abdikadir, Citizen TV.
And thousands of farmers across the country continue to bear the brunt of the ongoing floods in various counties. A spot check by Citizen TV paints a picture of a rather dire situation which, according to farmers, may hit the country hard in terms of food productivity. Crispin Otieno has been following the story, and here is his report.
The wrath of Mother Nature rages on in May and counting. Farmers across country seems to have been caught flat-footed yet again. The deadly deluge has negatively impacted their farms, translating to massive losses to the tune of millions of shillings. In Busia County, farmers from Budalangi are yet to comprehend what they are currently witnessing in their farms. James Odero literally wading through murky waters using a boat inside his farm. He seems to be stuck, both literally and figuratively. He is one of the many farmers in Busia County who have been hit hard by the heavy rains pounding the area, despite spending more than 1 million shillings in anticipation of a bumper harvest later this year. That may just remain a pipe dream.
Na sasa tena lengo lingine lile ambao tulikuwa tumetegemea tegemeo letu lote limedidimia, maji imefanya nini? Imechukua.
Odero's sentiments resonate well with other farm producers in the vast Bunyala North.
Tulikuwa pia kama mimi mwenyewe huwa nalima mchele, nalima mpunga. Maji imekuja imevamia paka nayo mpunga ambapo ilikuwa naenda ku harvest mwezi huu. Hasa saa hii karibu eka 4 napoteza karibu milioni 2.
In Teso North, cassava growers have not been spared. This family from Kamolo village says their hope continues to dim as heavy downpours wreak havoc in their farms.
Na ombi langu kwa serikali ni kwamba waweze kutupa sisi mbegu na mbolea kwa msimu ya pili ya upanzi, ili tuweze kupanda tuwe na chakula ya kutusaidia hapo mbeleni.
Na mimea zetu zimewezwa kubebwa kwa mashamba. Mihogo ambayo tulikuwa tumepanda tukitarajia kwamba mihogo ndio kitu ambacho huwa inatusaidia, yote imeoza na tumeweza kung'oa kutoka kwa mashamba.
In Kisumu, farmers affected by floods expressed their concerns. Yet even as they did, they were not at home in their farms, but at Ombaka where they are currently seeking refuge.
Hasara nimepata kubwa sababu nilikuwa na eka 6 nilipanda na bags 10. Lakini sasa imeenda.
It is the same script in Nairobi and Machakos counties. A quick look at this cabbage farm in Syokimau paints a sad state of affairs. These farmers have also lost millions of shillings they invested here with the hope of a crop that will replenish their pockets.
Shamba zetu chakula kimekauka, aswa mboga ambao tunapanda na inatusaidia kuendelesha maisha yetu. Saa hizi tuko na wakulima zaidi ya 400 hapa within Syokimau Mlolongo ambao wameathirika, na utapata hawa wakulima kama wataenda kupata begu ama wasaidike wapate begu na mbolea, itakuwa ni ngumu sana kwao kurudi kwa mashamba yao.
Tumekuja kukundua mvua ikuangi na notice. Mimi mwenyewe hapa nimelima mboga kwa miaka 14. Niko na shamba eka 1.5. Hiyo shamba yote imeenda na maji, ile ilibaki kwa shamba maji ilisimama hapo, mboga yote imeungua.
Farmers across the country have appealed to the government to always plan ahead before a disaster of this magnitude strikes. Crispin Otieno, Citizen TV.
And different regions across the country continue to bear the brunt of nature's fury as relentless torrential downpours persist, wreaking havoc in Tana River County. The swelling Tana River, which burst its banks weeks ago, continues to wreak havoc, devastating communities among its path, with the impact being felt downstream in Lamu, where sections of the Gamba area have been swept away. And this comes as the government intensifies its efforts to evict residents living in flood-prone areas, as was witnessed on Saturday in Nairobi's Mukuru Kayaba. Ben Kirui with the details.
The forcible eviction targeting residents living in riparian zones and flood-prone areas hit Nairobi's Mukuru Kayaba on Saturday. When the bulldozers left the area, hundreds of structures housing thousands of residents had been reduced to rubble, leaving them homeless and hopeless. residents expressed a despair over the lack of alternatives.
Vitu zangu siko hapo nje. Si watuambie mara moja wanafika wapi, wengine tujue tunaenda wapi. Sababu wanakuja wanapomua hatujui kama tunafikiwa ama tufikiwi.
Na kupigiwa simu nilikuwa kazini, hakuna kitu nimepata kwa nyumba. Yote ni kama ilikuwa imechukuliwa na ile ilikuwa ndani imekanyago yote. Sasa nimebaki vile na niona hakuna kitu nimeokoa, nimetoka kazi kama nimechelewa.
Despite protests by the residents, the demolitions went on, flattening homes within 30 meters of the riverbank.
Tulianziwa na maji, saa hii kumepomolewa, hatuna mali ya kwenda, nyumba zimepomolewa, vitu zimeathirika. Mimi sina mali ya kwenda, niko na watoto na pesa walisema wanatupatia hao watu tumeathirika ya kuhama. Mimi hakuna kitu nimepata.
Sasa hii ukitupatia hata unga ama mafuta tutapikia wapi? Hawezi tusaidia njia nyingine. Shida iko wapi? Hivyo tu ndo tunataka. Tulikuchagua wewe ndo bottom up. Hii ndo bottom up kweli.
In Mathare, flood victims are still seeking assistance, with many yet to receive aid promised by President William Ruto during his recent visit. Area Member of Parliament Anthony Olwoch led a fundraising initiative to support those affected.
Tusimame uhesabiwe kwamba umesimama na watu wa Mathare na umesimama na wale wamepoteza watoto, wale wamepoteza nyumba zao, property zao.
Heavy rains persist in various parts of the country, causing widespread damage. In Lamu County, flooding disrupted transportation along the main road connecting Lamu, Witu and Garsen, exacerbating the situation caused by overflowing dams and rivers due to continuous rainfall. Meanwhile, in Kirinyaga County, police have retrieved the body of a businessman who drowned in Sagana River 9 days ago. The businessman Sami Kamau plunged into the river as he was crossing the Sagana River. Ben Kirui, Citizen TV, Nairobi.
An autopsy report has revealed that Ohangla dancer Sheila Odoyo, popularly known as Sheila Wagesha, died due to excessive loss of blood. Pathologist Dr. Micheka, who conducted the post-mortem on the body of Wagesha, gave his findings as to the cause of death being excessive bleeding due to sharp force trauma to the neck. Wagesha was found dead in her Athi River home, Machakos County, on Thursday with deep cut wounds on her throat. Samples were also taken for DNA and toxicology analysis. Detectives are probing the gruesome murder, with the main suspect, her husband Jackson Bamboo, on the run. Now, tonight we report on a heroic rescue mission of a young girl by 6 Kenyans from Nairobi River amid ongoing heavy rains that caused death and destruction on an unimaginable scale. The 14-year-old girl, surrounded by flood waters, held onto a tree in the middle of the raging flood waters until her rescue by the team of 6 volunteers who formed a unit in an impressive rescue mission that averted a tragedy. Ayub Abdikadir reports on the April 23rd incident which happened in Korogosho, one of the neighborhoods in the capital of Nairobi that has severely been affected by the heavy rains.
She holds onto the tree in the middle of the heavy flowing floods in Korogosho as her last hope before voluntary rescuers reach her. And with prayers from onlookers who cannot help but supplement their effort with prayers, the 6 local rescuers here, holding on to each other, perhaps to withstand the force of the floods, reached the 14-year-old girl who held on, hoping for her rescue and finally into the hands of the rescuers who lifted her to safety. It's a tale of heroism out of the heavy rains that have led to the loss of lives and destruction of property. A rescue by the 6 was preceded by another effort by 28-year-old Michael Masharia and Lawrence Munji, who are the first responders to the crying call of the 14-year-old girl, and who unfortunately were washed away by the floods before reaching her. A break in the rain in Korogosho at the scene of the rescue operation offered us a chance to talk to one of the rescuers, the family of the two men who were swept away and still missing, and locals who vividly recall events of the 23rd of April.
Tulikuwa mtu 6 na bado kulikuwa na wengine kando nyuma. Sisi tulikuwa tumeshikana mikono, na ndio sasa tukuje tu rescue mtu hii. Tumeshikana ile mkono, alafu na mmoja alikuwa na miti, mwenye alikuwa mbele. Alikuwa na miti, sasa alikuwa na miti refu, ile design alikuwa anadunga kiangalia kama hapa ni padip, kama hapa si padip, pale kuna mawe, design kaa hiyo unaona. Sasa akanyaga hapo mwingine anafuata hivyo mpaka tukafikia mto hii na ile kushikana na nguvu.
The community here also mourns the loss of the first responders and have appealed for help from the government to find their missing kin.
Nikapigiwa simu, nikaambiwa mtoto wangu ameingia kwa maji. So nilikuja, nikaangalia, nikaona kweli mtoto wangu ameenda na maji. Juu ni kuokoa, alikuwa akienda kuokoa. Kuna msichana alikuwa ameingia kwa maji na walikuwa wawili. Sasa wakati alienda kuokoa ule msichana, maji ilimbeba yakaenda, lakini msichana aliokolewa.
Katika ile harakati, Lawrence alienda na maji. Na hadi wa leo sijawahi mpata. Tafadhali serikali, tusaidie kutafuta hao watoto wetu. Wakiwa hai ama kama wamekufa. Tutashukuru sana tukiwapokea.
Wale wamemuokoa ni vijana wa Nduthi pale kwetu. Wamepita hivi wakasunguka wakaenda Lidimu. Hiyo kijana alikuwa na hii miti ndefu, alikuwa anaingisha hivi mali ameweka, anaingisha mkuu, na yule mwenzake akiondoka hapo, na mwenzake anakuja wapi, kiana mmoja tunamuita Kamusa, yakaweka msichana kwa mkongo. Tena pile tu alikuwa ametoka, wakaanza mwendo wa kurudi na hiyo njia, wakaenda na wakatokea.
Tumejishika kama community kat kwa wengi, kwa na nyewe hadi tunadi medana nasema nyewe, yani mkiwa wengi mnaweza kitu, unaona, lakini mkiwa peke yako pia uwe. Sasa tulishikana kikao watu wote, ndio kama tusaidia mtoi.
The daring Korogosho 6 rescuers symbolized team effort and in volunteering themselves averted an imminent tragedy, saving the life of a girl in the midst of heavy floodwaters, compounded by gusty winds, a relief for the community here who see little or no support in such conditions. Ayub Abdikadir, Citizen TV.
That was incredibly brave and selfless. Thank you so much to all who, pulled their strength and effort together to avert that tragedy, or what could have been a tragedy. We celebrate you. We're taking a very short break here on Citizen Weekend. We're back with more. Let's take a look at stories making headlines. Welcome back. 2 victims of the Elwak IED attack in Mandera were laid to rest in Bondoni, Mwingi, Kitui County on Friday. Political leaders and friends joined the families of John Kilunda and Robert Munyithia in mourning their death at the burial. The two were among 7 victims of a terror attack in Elwak, Mandera County, and Marcin Joki has the details.
24-year-old John Kilunda and 48-year-old Robert Munyithia were among victims of the Elwak IED attack. 7 of the victims came from Mwingi in Kitui County. The mass for the departed souls was conducted at Mbondoni Parish, Mwingi West.
We are calling upon the government to make sure even those who are in hospitals, we waive their bills and their bills are taken care of by the government.
Kati ya hao 7 tuliweza kupoteza 5, wawili wamesurvive kule Mwingi Central. Hapa tuliweza kupoteza 2 na 2 wakasurvive. Kwa hivyo tunaona ni msiba mkubwa sana.
Speaking during the burial, Tourism Fund Director Patrick Mudhengi commended the government for offering financial assistance to the affected families by catering for transportation of bodies from Mandera and contributing towards burial costs.
Waliweza kutusaidia kutupatia ndege ambazo ziliweza kulift hiyo miili kutoka Mandera ikaweza kuleta Nairobi. Pia wametusaidia kuwaive zile mbili ambazo zilikuwa city mortuary, na huu usaidizi tunashukuru sana. Jambo la pili pia tunashukuru maana wameweza kuwapatia zile familia ambazo ziliathirika 1200 ili weza kusimamia gharama ya mazishi.
The government has assured stringent measures will be put in place to ensure security prevails in all parts of the country. Marcy Njoki, Citizen TV.
Well, the coast region is facing an acute shortage of blood supply due to what health experts say is largely caused by poor eating habits, myths and traditions that have seen majority of residents shy away from donating blood. And as Francis Mtalaki reports, this acute shortage of blood is forcing many people to make desperate calls for emergency blood donations.
We meet Samuel Maura Kamau at his house in Wembe Tayari area, Vita constituency, Mombasa County. Maura was involved in an accident at Lights area on 9th January 2024, which has completely changed his life. Since January, he has been receiving treatment at the Coast General Hospital and he needed 15 pins of blood group B. This was a challenge.
Baadaye nikachukuliwa na marafiki wangu wakanipeleka Makadara General Hospital. Tangu hapo nimekuwa nikitibiwa.
This has been the situation for a majority of patients in the coast region. Acute shortage of blood resulting in families making desperate calls for emergency blood donations. At the Coast Regional Blood Transfusion Center, we meet Wycliffe Nyachai and two others. They are here to donate blood for their kin.
Nimekuja kudonate damu hapa kwa ajili ya mgonjwa wangu ambaye amelazwa hospitali anatakana kufanya operation ya tumbo.
Mombasa has an average monthly target of 1,857 pins but collects only 1,000 pins monthly. Kilifi collects an average of 780 against a target of 1,211 pins, with Tana River collecting the least at 55 against a target of 284.
Hapo boreni siku najua kuna umuhimu wa kupeana hiyo kudonate damu.
Mimi nimekuwa reluctant tu, sijui ni kwa nini ninaweza sema, lakini sasa leo imenifikia ndio I feel it.
Tamanio letu ni kwamba damu ingoje mgonjwa, sio mgonjwa angoje damu.
According to Coast Regional Blood Transfusion Center Regional Manager Grace Nzilani, this is largely because of the love of Swahili foods from biryani, pilau, viazi karai and others.
Kweli wako tayari kuja kutoa, lakini kwa sababu ya tabia ya watu wa pwani, vile tunakula chakula chetu, tunapenda fast foods mo, na zimefanya mara nyingi kiwango cha damu chetu kiko chini.
Myths and traditions within coastal communities are also a big part of why many shy away from the exercise.
Wengine huona ni kimila, wamezieka ni kama mila, kwenda kutoa damu ni kama wanaisema mila fulani haikubaliani. Wengine wanasema wanawake hawawezi toa damu. Wengine unakuta wakisema ya kwamba mimi sitatoa damu, nitangoja siku ile mtu wangu akitaka damu ndio nije kutoa. Lakini ule ukweli ni kwamba unaposema hivyo, hiyo damu yako unapokuja kuitoa ati unafikiria ndio inasaidia ule mgonjwa, basi mara nyingi wasi yenyewe, kwa sababu kitambo uije ipimwe kwa mahabara iweze kufikia ule mgonjwa inachukua kati ya masaa 12 na 24.
Grace Nzilani says there are several benefits that come from donating blood frequently, urging residents to embrace the exercise and save lives. Francis Mtalaki, Citizen TV, Mombasa.
Thank you for staying with Citizen Weekend. A patient who has been on TB medication for almost 6 years has been declared TB-free by the Moi Teaching and Referral Hospital. 29-year-old Samson Kibet had extensive drug-resistant TB. He's the third person to be treated with XDR-TB in the facility. As Emily Chebet reports, Samson had been admitted 3 times, the last admission seeing him spend 2 years in hospital. He was allowed to rejoin the community and escorted back by a team of medics from MTRH and partners like Ampath and Center for Health Solutions Kenya.
29-year-old Samson Kibet sat his final secondary school examination in 2015 with a lot of hope about the future. Little did he know that life would take a different turn. In June 22, 2018, Samson's dream of becoming a teacher was dimmed after he was diagnosed with tuberculosis that would see him in and out of hospital for more than 5 years.
Ilikuwa ni ile TB ya kawaida. Nikameza hizo madawa za miezi 6. Ni kama ikaresist. Ikabidi sasa wametuma hizo hospitali mama sijui inaitwa Kalja. Ndio results ikatoka sasa nikakuja nikaadmitiwa hapa hivi 2018 October.
Kibet was initially diagnosed with drug-susceptible tuberculosis, but illness stubbornly progressed for pre-extensive drug-resistant TB. The disease would defy treatment efforts twice, finally morphing into extensive drug-resistant TB. Immediately after the diagnosis in 2018, Kibet was admitted at the Moi Teaching and Referral Hospital for 9 months before he was discharged. But upon completion of 18 months treatment at home, the infectious disease relapsed and he was readmitted at the same facility for 11 more months. He was again discharged, only to be readmitted for the 3rd time with extensive drug-resistant TB.
Sielewi, sijui shida ilikuwa wapi, ndio hiyo dawa haikuwa inafanya kazi. Sasa wakanibadilishia dawa, haikuwa inafanya kazi. Ikabidi sasa niliambiwa wewe uko na ile TB sugu. Sasa lazima upelekwe isolated. Uwekwe mali isolation yani.
While managing the drug-resistant TB patients, we have several challenges. First of all, the treatment duration is quite long, and patients often get tired of the medication because unlike the first-line TB treatment that takes 6 to 1 year, this one takes almost 2 years.
Extensive drug-resistant TB is a type of TB that is resistant to the most potent TB drugs, both first and second-line treatment. Samson has been on 2 injections every day for 18 months and 3 doses of oral treatment for the same period that he has been admitted at the Moi Teaching and Referral Hospital. According to the medics, TB patients who are admitted are those who are very sick, who have shortness of breath, who cannot carry any activities, patients who have other illnesses like TB and anemia, other chronic conditions like asthma. Some have cancers and TB. Patients who are highly infectious and can pose threats to the community. Patients who take alcohol and drug abuse because of the issue of adherence, street or homeless people. This, they say, is part of the strategy to reduce TB transmission within the community.
Wakati niliambiwa ati TB yako ni sugu, ilinisumbua sana, lakini sasa unajua hospitali kuna manurses wa karibu, kuna hao matherapist, kuna hao wengine macounselor wanakuja. Hao nayo wanasaidia sana. Wanakuongelesha unaelewa mpaka unajikubali. Na ukishajikubali basi dawa hata nayo inakubali.
We actually went out to Tiati where he comes from. We went out to Kacheleba and Transoia, places he has been, and we went all those places and screened everyone. So if you do early screening, you pull out patients with TB from our communities, you put them on treatment, then that is one way.
Samson is being discharged a 3rd time from this facility after 2 years in hospital, one of the longest periods he has been in isolation. Moi Teaching and Referral Hospital team celebrated his discharge even as they prepared to accompany him back home in West Pokot for the first time in 2 years.
Ikifika wakati unaambiwa unadischargiwa, kabisa yani niko na furaha by this, niko na furaha.
This patient finally received his results to have been negative, and we really appreciate the national program, AMPA Tuzima and CHS in terms of sample networking for culture and other tests to the Lancet lab, which could not be done within the facilities.
We would not want to really be celebrating taking care of TB. We would want to be taking care of things that we cannot prevent. So TB is one of the things that we can prevent, as Prof has said, and let's ensure that we prevent TB, we prevent opportunities for spread, especially by early diagnosis.
You can imagine 2 years being away from home and not knowing exactly what is going on in the village. So the team sat down, the social work team, and they planned that they would escort the patient to the community.
Song and dance back at home in Kacheliba, West Pokot County. Friends and family welcoming back one of their own who have been away from them for 2 years. A cousin who is also a nurse at Kacheliba Sub-County Hospital recalls the stigma they went through after Samson, who was living with her family, was diagnosed with extensive drug-resistant TB.
Tulipata stigma sana. Baka like msiende kwa ile nyumba kucheza watoto, kila mtu alikuwa anatuona ni kama we are kind of tulikuwa secluded, and that forced me kuhama huko.
Baada ya sasa nimepona, nasikia afya imerudi, so I think ni kuendeleza masomo tu ya mbali niliachia.
Extensive drug-resistant TB is a rare type of TB. Samson is the third person to be diagnosed at Moi Teaching and Referral Hospital. According to medics, frequent screening and early diagnosis will accelerate the fight against the infectious disease that is treatable, and its treatment is free. Emily Chebet, Citizen TV.
Ephantus Murage from Wangige in Kiambu County has emerged the winner of this week's Shabiki midweek jackpot bonus, pocketing 101,376 shillings. Murage won after predicting 12 out of 13 matches correctly. He says he will use the money to pay school fees for his children. The full jackpot amount is 3.6 million for accurately predicting all 13 games. To become the next lucky winner, play the Shabiki midweek jackpot by visiting www.shabiki.com or text MJP to 29063. You only require 49 shillings to play the game.
Mini driver naendaga na gari za Walokana Sacco kutoka Wangige mpaka Nairobi. Sasa hii mimi nilicheza hii shabiki.com midweek, nikapewa hii bonus na nitaendelea kucheza. Na hii pesa nitatumia nilipe shule, inafunguliwa Monday, juu ya mvua nitalipa, ingine nibaki nayo na niendelee kucheza.